This is Aubrey Lee doing the D. We're at one of the great jewels in our city of Detroit, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Let's take a look.
You're looking at a slave ship that is really more authentic right now than any that the museum has ever had.
You know, when you get on a slave ship like that, the angst that someone has to feel, that's got to be something else.
It's very, very, very traumatic, because when they got on the ship, they had a routine that was pretty strenuous. You know, we show the first thing they're branded, and so they put the hot brand on their bodies, usually on their shoulders. So it was a horrible experience for the captives. After they were branded, then they have a pot over here. That's a cooking pot where they warm the oil. But they also use it for other things, for cooking and for maybe rubbing where they have branded them. And from then on, it was just a terrible routine. I got a new revelation, though, of what they did during the day.
So there was food certainly aboard the ship, and in many cases those slaves were fed against their will, but in any case, fed nonetheless. Talk about the food on the slave ship.
Yes, the food was sort of limited. They had beans and yams and some corn. That's about it. But some of them were rebelling, and they just didn't want to eat.
I would imagine at some point some seeds of discontent started to sow themselves.
Well, the problems were that they had to follow a regime that was very strict. And some of them tried not to eat. They wanted to starve themselves to death. They made them eat, or they'd held their mouth open, or whatever it is. And during the day, they wanted them to dance, and so they'd get exercise, and they had to whip some of them to dance. And some of them were shackled because they knew which ones were trying to jump over into the water. Maybe 300 or 400 were in one ship, and usually at least 100 dropped over into the water, because they didn't know what was happening, and they were miserable. Not enough food, no bathrooms, and so that made it very smelly. They could smell the ship coming from miles away.
And eventually, when you came to the destination, what occurred at that point in time?
At that time, they were taken off of the ship. They tried to clean them up and make them look healthy. Then they would go to different places where they could be sold. And that's when they really were enslaved, and that was what started the slavery in the United States.
This building, this museum, is one of the great jewels in our city. And if you've not been here, how can I say it? Shame on you, right?
Right now, this is just ideal. Dr. Wright would have loved it, because there's a lot to see. A lot of things change. Every day they're adding things so that the schools can enjoy this museum, and the younger people as well as the adults.
And still we rise. The Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History here in the great city of Detroit. Dr. Roberta Hughes Wright, it is so delightful to have a chance to visit with you today.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.